Good morning or good afternoon. I'm not quite sure what the time is. Hi, it's Valerie Ling, clinical psychologist, director, founder, Centre for Effective Living. I'm out and about today, feeling a bit weird with my gear and my earphones plugged in, but I'm hopping on live today to do a segment I call Behind the Scenes. Okay, behind the scenes for me is actually sharing maybe something that's been going on in my personal world, just as a human being, that it might strike a chord with you, and to keep these videos real. So I've returned to the scene of a crime. Not quite, it's not a crime, but I have returned to a particular spot that holds some meaning for me. It holds a meaning for me because a very big decision was made in a cafe in the suburb that I'm in. And funnily enough, I actually had a meeting arranged to come here this morning. And I thought, well, if I'm having a meeting in this place, I'm going to return to the scene where I actually made this major decision and just feel what it's like, coming back, the before and the after. And it so happened that when I was en route, I made a phone call to a very dear friend, and turned out that she and her buddy they were meeting for breakfast just where I was actually. And that just returned me to another spot in my behind the scene segment today. Okay, let me share with you what my behind the scene story is today. Other than being a psychologist, I'm a little bit of an amateur author. I do have 2 things published, one under Valerie Ling and one under my maiden name, Valerie Teng, some years ago. And I think it was 2014, I actually submitted an unpublished manuscript for a competition, and it was shortlisted for a prize, and I didn't win. But what came out of that being shortlisted, was I got some solid feedback. And in 2014, if I had actually jumped onto that feedback and actually put in the hard work and took some risks, I might actually have a manuscript that I would have submitted, and just who knows where that might have gone. So the 2 friends that I bumped into are both published authors, and every time I sit down with an author, I feel slightly responsible to continue the journey with them, because authors have to take a lot of risks. They risk rejection. They have to put their work out there initially to be criticized, and then to actually be read by lots and lots of people. And whenever I sit with an author friend, and I have quite a few and I love them, there's a special sort of person that takes a dream, often a childhood dream, into their adult life and makes something out of it and takes risks. So I love my author friends, and when I sit with them, particularly one, there will be a call to action. Valerie, when are you going to start writing again? When are you actually going to start? When will you do this? And in my family, I'm also reminded, those who are close to me will remind me, there is that unpublished manuscript. I'd love to see you finish it. So this ties in with the big decision that I made last year. I sat in a cafe and I wrote a letter to myself. It wasn't about books, it was about something else. And I wrote a letter to myself, and the words start with, "You're sitting in a cafe and you are so afraid of the next step you're about to take. But I want you to make a date with yourself, the same date, 12 months down the line in this cafe, and write the next chapter." Now, I'm not there yet, but I was reminded today coming back to this place. So what's the fear? Fear of failure, it's so strong. It doesn't really have to take much for us to dig into our own past and our own history and know the relationship we have with fear. We might avoid things. We might over-rationalize. I've over-rationalized why I don't write anymore. I talk about priorities and mental focus, and if you're going to do it right, to respect the craft, you really need to do it, with the right people and with the right mental focus. Okay. I won't overanalyze where my psychology is in that, but you can compensate, not just by avoidance, but you might throw yourself in a completely opposite direction because it's safer to do so. And the net result is going to be that we actually don't know how much of that fear is just fear. I will say that fear is that fine line between prison and freedom. So it was a lovely reminder to come back here. I'm still on course with the decision that I made when I sat in that cafe, and I'm still, whoops, here goes a train. Wait for it to pass and I'll continue. It's a very long train. I'm still on course with that decision that I made. I'm tracking it, I'm returning, I get scared, I seek encouragement, but I just put one step forward, and sometimes I'll return to a very significant point to remind myself that I made the decision 2 months ago, and already I'm in a very different headspace to where I am now. As for the books, I might need to see a psychologist about that one. Okay, catch you later.